My name is John H. Gladson, Jr. I went in the Army in 1942. I was inducted at Fort Jackson and then got 30 days home on leave, and then I went to Fort Bragg, and from Fort Bragg I went to Oklahoma Camp Gruber, Oklahoma, with and joined the 42nd Infantry people that were training at that time there. And then after I finished training, they sent me home for another 30 days, and I went back to, reported back to Camp Phillips, Kansas. And not too very long after I went back to Camp Phillips, Kansas, we got shipped out back to go overseas out of New York. And we went from there overseas, and I wished I could remember the name of the boat we went on, because I heard it the other day, but I can't remember that right now what it was. We got on board a ship and went overseas to England. We stayed there for quite a while until we got kind of acquainted and knew where everything was, and then we got shipped over. Cherbourg is where I went in at, and we pushed them back from there far enough that we then were going to come back out and make a circle around toward Paris, and that's what we did do. And on the way back there, we was still pushing along, and I was a BAR man, is what I did. And after we got back down there, was on the road, holding the road to keep people from coming in on us. And that was, I imagine, about 15 miles out of Cherbourg, and we was pushing back across the area. And when we pushed back up there, and I was on the road, and I had my crew, myself and my rifle, my assistant, and the ammunition carrier for my rifle. We got over there, and I was in a road with two ditches, one on each side of the road, and they kept firing at us, and then they started sending mortars in on us. And I looked back over my shoulder to tell my troop, the other two people who was with me, if anything else came in too close like that, we were going to have to move. And before I got the words out of my mouth, I got hit with one of the, I don't know whether it was a mortar or one of those, what was the other thing that they... 88? Was it 88? 88. They had both of them was coming in. I don't, yeah. And I don't know which one it was. I don't know whether it was 88 or a mortar. But anyway, I got hit in the side. You can probably see the scar right there now. And I still got a little piece of shrapnel right up in here, right on from it. But it knocked me out for just about 2 or 3 minutes, and I got up and went back to the back, and they sent me, of course, back into England to the hospital. They evacuated me back to England in the hospital over there. Okay. And I stayed about 30 days, I believe, was a little more, in England, and then they were going to ship me back to my unit, and they did ship me back to the unit. And after I got over there and stayed for a while, it was just out of Paris. Then we got gotten in as close as Paris at that time. They'd pushed in far enough and gotten into Paris. And when I went back to my unit and got over there, they started with, again, all these rifles and things of shooting in the 88s and
were you
everything.
a BAR man?
I was still BAR man.
Okay.
And when I kept going over there with that, and a shell come in and hit about, like from me to that thing down there, and it knocked me out. It just knocked me out of my mind altogether. And the concussion from it knocked me out. And I woke up this time, and I was still in France. They had a hospital built up in France at this time, and whenever I got well on that, instead of sending me back up to the front line again, they shipped me back down to Italy, through the southern part of France into Italy. And because every time a bullet would go off, a gun would shoot or something, I'd jump. It just scared me to death almost, you know. And so they sent me down there, and I drove tractor down there for them. They had trucks that was hauling supplies back and forth, and I had old D7 Caterpillar tractor with the blade on the front. And when they'd get stuck, I'd go out and push them on out the hole. And I stayed with them until, I believe it was September or November. And then I got out from there and came home because the war was over. That was when the war was over then. And I came back into Fort Bragg, North Carolina, is where we finally came back in. We left from Naples, Italy. Naples, Italy. I've spent a lot of time in Naples, Italy there too at the time. After I finished with pushing the cars back and forth, they decided that they needed me to tend to some of the officers' quarters and whatnot was over there. And I was still just a PFC was all I was at the time. I was a corporal. And but anyway, and they put me in charge of groups of the housing over there, where the officers was coming and going, and also some of the Italian people that had rejoined with us at that time. You know, they come in and rejoin with us, and I had quarters for them too that I had over there. So I had a troop of people who was with me that took care of the quarters, maintenance, and I was over, I guess about 14 men, something like that. And whenever they needed certain things or whoever was coming, we had to find out who it was and what he needed and things like that. It was what I was doing at the end before I came home. And then they finally gave me enough points to come home on. And when I came home just about Christmas time of 45. You remember the ship Enterprise? That's the one that brought me home, but I couldn't remember the one that carried me over. But the one that came home on was the Enterprise. The Enterprise was coming home to be worked on. It's why they let us come home on it. And we had well over 1,000 people on that thing. And aircraft decks up top had been rolled around from so much blowing and explosions and whatnot, and they just curled around the front of the boat up there on that ship. And that was the most, I don't know, it just said, well, look at what doing something like that, and all these people, and they had some crew that was still on it, that was originally on it too, you know, of course, and because they, you know how those ships are, and this is just my opinion on it. If you take all the one crew off of it and just add another crew on it, you in trouble, because they don't know what they're doing, you know, and what's going on. And then, but when we came in at North Carolina up there. We came through there, came on back down. I came on, went in up in, well, I saw the Statue of Liberty anyhow. I saw the Statue of Liberty in New York. Yeah. And then we came, they shoved us on down to Fort Bragg again. And that's where I was discharged at Fort Bragg. And I came home and started looking for a job after everything, after Christmas of 45. It was in Christmas of 45. I started looking for a job and went back to work for the mill, paper mill over there. And they put me on the same job I was on with when I was there before. Of course, they would take it back, you know, like that. But there was so many of them, people that was coming home over there, that you couldn't get any promotions or anything going at all. So I stayed out. Like I say, I went to work there one time and worked for just a while, and it didn't work out. So I went to work for driving tractor again out in pulling fire lines out in the country all around here in Georgetown County. Pulling fire lines for West Virginia Pulp and Paper Company. And then after a while on that, I believe that's about the time I got married. And I said, well, this ain't getting me nowhere. I'll go back and see if I can't go get in the mill again and go to work. And I went back and got in the mill, and it wasn't getting anywhere. And my first son was born. And I told the wife I'm going and rejoin the Army. And she didn't want me to, but I did. And then after I rejoined the Army, she stayed home with her parents in Charleston, was where her parents was from. She stayed down there about 5 or 6 months, I guess, until I got straight in Fort Jackson again. They took me back up to Fort Jackson when I joined. And I stayed there for about 3.5 years. And then they shipped me back over to through England again over there. And I went to England and then into Germany itself. And they needed me, as I said before, to come down and work with the people in on the English. And I never did get back to Italy, but when I was first there in the war in Italy, I had a good time down there with the people there. And I was about to leave my first wife go, because I was writing her and my wife that I got now. I hope she's listening, but anyway, I met a general, Italian general's daughter, and she took me all over Italy when I was over there. I can't speak too much now, but I got where I could speak while I was over there. I could speak pretty good with them. And that girl spoke English. She was, like I say, she was an Italian general's daughter. And I didn't work with her, but she worked with me in where I was working with an engineer group of men and girls. And she knew one of the girls that was in there, and she'd come over there, and that's how we got kind of going around together. And but when I got the chance to get out and come home, of course I left that. And I'd like to know whatever happened to her and her daddy and all them. I knew her daddy and her mother, and we spoke, but we would speak to each other. The mother couldn't speak no English, and I wasn't doing too good at speaking Italian at the time. But anyway, there's all that, and after we got back, and I got out, and like I say, I worked for the paper mill a while there, and I worked for the, West Virginia. And then I decided to come back in after my first son was born. I got married in 46, I believe it was, when I got married. When I moved, when I was over there during the war, and I moved from France down to Italy, my records got lost. And there's some of them still lost. I don't know. I think they finally caught up with them somehow and followed the history of the outfit I was with and gave me the medals that should have come to me from that, you know, that your gold, your Bronze Star and your Victory Medal and your English and European. On one of my discharges, the first discharge, it had in there that I was to be given I never did get it. What was it? Something for saving lives. Oh, and okay. Over there, I can't tell you all that much. All I did was try to be me. and try to be me. And if I could help somebody, I'd help them. And also during the time I was in Italy, I took off with some friends of ours who got together that was in the service over there together. And this was during the time I was shocked, shell-shocked, and had gone back down there into Italy. That's the reason they sent me on back down there to Italy, was shell-shocked. And when I went back down there, they wouldn't let us go nowhere or do nothing much, you know, when we were in that condition. And so a bunch of us got together from all over the states. It was about 7 of us, I think, got together, and we caught an airplane down to Africa. we weren't allowed to, we weren't supposed to, but we did anyway. We caught it down to Africa and looked around down there a little bit to see what was going on. While I was down there, I went down there and finally wound up in Naples, Italy, and we had a area of ground there that we guard, you know, and have be guarding all along. And they wanted to put me on guard, and that was not too far along after I'd been shot and heard them bullets and all here, and they were jumping. And they told me I had to stand guard. Told me I had to stand guard one time out there, and I said, no way. So the boss man, or he was a lieutenant, I think he was a lieutenant, got to checking on it and checked back on my records, and he'd come back and apologize to me for it. I went back in and went back over to Europe and made that trip, and then when I came back, I stayed about 4 years more, and got shipped to Hawaii. And that was when the Korean War was starting.
Yeah.
When I was made a BAR man while I was training, and the reason they did that, from what I can learn from my papers and everything, that I was the best in the battalion of any of them that fired over. I got marked in marksmanship. And I think the reason I did that was because most people you see with a rifle that shoots like that, you know, bam, 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 bam,
Automatic.
Automatic. And I learned how to pull just enough to get three or four shots off, but no more than 3 or 4 shots off at a time, and see where they were going. And wherever they went, I'd ease back over and go again to get what I wanted to shoot at. We're going back over toward Germany from France, back over there, and they had us locked down. And we were in a town, and I don't remember what the town is, just a little village like. And I was on the end of a city, and out in the end down there was what do you call him, a sniper, I reckon it was down there, and he was guarding and blocking the door to a building that we were trying to get into, and it was about like 500 yards. And I saw this guy as a sniper up there, and I took that BAR and I cracked him out of there. Yeah, he was in a camouflage thing in a tree, hanging on a rope up in there, and he was all camouflaged up there. And I said, "But I ain't gonna let you shoot them people where we were trying to get in there." He was trying to shoot them to keep them from getting to the door where that place was. And I let him have 1 or 2 bullets up there. And the first thing I know, it quieted down, and directly you come back and tried to do it again. And this time I saw better than what I did the first time, and I let it go in there. And he was in the hole in the bushes around him like this, and so I imagine that was a goodbye. I kind of don't like to talk about that too much, but. After that, when we got on the road and it went on out toward Germany, and They had about, that's where I got the second one with the shell come in on me and blow and concussion. He was good, and but he didn't have too much to do with me. He wouldn't have too much to do with me because, you know, with being with the BAR, I had to go wherever the lieutenant said go. You went and guarded, most of the time guarded what they said, you know, to see if you could get something going from that. He was a little bit older than I was, and he came from Alabama, I think is where he came from. I came Alabama, and he taught me a lot because when he came into the outfit the same time I did from Fort Jackson, and we went by train down to Louisiana and then back up to Oklahoma. But when we got up there, he was already a sergeant first class, and I was just a PFC, and of course he had his job to do and I had mine, and but I didn't see too much of him on there, but from everything I could find out about him, he was a good man, and I liked him very well too. Very much, and that was why I kind of chose the guy to carry my ammunition for me, and chose the one that I wanted to back me up if something happened to me. And we got along pretty good out there. I was on Oahu is where we were over at, what's the name of the camp? I can't remember. Can't remember it right now. Give me 5 minutes and I'll remember it, but I don't know. But anyway, Honolulu is where it was, near Honolulu. Now. And I had my family with me at that time too. And I again was with the engineering outfit and giving supplies and getting supplies to the people over there. And of course we had to go take combat training when the other part of it started over there. What was it? The Koreans started over there, and we had to go out on a camping trip on that. And once we went out on that, I fell on a mountain over there and hurt my back, and had to go to the hospital for that. And I still have back problems. In fact, the July of last year, I had a hip replacement in that. I got that thing to put in the hip, you know, to take care of it. And I told them I wanted to get my back fixed, but I want to call him Captain all the time. The Dr. Crosby, I don't know whether you know him or not. He says that ain't no use to try to do anything with what I got back there. One of that I was telling you about that we went to Africa with. They were real close friends. I should have brought a picture of him. Everest, I believe, was his name, and he had a friend that was a pretty good friend with him. But I got them out of Italy. They joined with some of the people that we were in Italy, and we talked about different things. He was a Yankee, and he and I would fuss all the time about it. And I would get the fussing with him about the Yankees. So he would say, "Well, I'm a Yankee, but you a Southerner, and you ain't no Yankee. You what did he call us? I forget what he was. Rebel. You a rebel, and you. Well, I ain't gonna have nothing to do with you." But we was the best of friends, and we get something started like that, and the first thing you know, we'd have a fight. But I'm getting ready to go on. Oh my Lord. And that was some old times, I tell you. And anyway, we had those type friends it was. I met up with those in the hospital after I was got down there and fell on that mountain over there and hurt my back, and that's how I met up with them. And it wasn't too long before. But I got a picture of one of them that was with me, and then another one that was with me was my driver for helping me with keeping the houses and stuff straightened out over there. I'd send him off to pick up officers and whatnot. The biggest thing that I can remember about that was how good the Lord was to me when I got shot. And I had my head turned, and if it had been looking out there, I wouldn't be here today. And the other thing was about was so glad it was there instead of here, where my family would have had to go through what I was going through with. One of the better things that I got, and I still love them today, is Little Debbie's. The Little Debbie packages with the raisin, with the little raisin raisin the pies that go in there. Yeah. I love them. I got some at the house right now. I learned to love some Italian foods while I was over there too, and I ate some octopus. Yeah. Octopus was what it was. I learned to eat that through that little girl that I was talking about. She would carry us down, and then I got to where I was taking those other guys with me to little restaurants or places that we knew, people that we knew over there. The thing of it, I wouldn't take $1 million for it, but wouldn't give 2 cents for another one just like it. I had enough.